Welcome back to the Spread Pick'em Show. Mike and Andrew, this is year two of doing this show. It was a fun time last year. You were a loser. I was a winner. That's why I'm putting
Yep.
the trophy logo next to my name when I upload this. So
Huh.
it was close, though. It was actually a very competitive battle throughout. I think it was decided up until the championship matchups. So it was pretty good. But how you doing, buddy? You haven't talked to the viewers in a while. So what's up with you?
Yeah. Hello, everybody. I hope you guys didn't not like me too much last year because I'm back. By the poll on the YouTube channel, you guys were pretty excited for us to return. So I'm glad to be back. It's a whole new season, it really is. It's that time of year, and I'm pretty excited about it.
Are you excited about the Eagles? I'm just going to ask you
Yeah,
straight
yeah,
up.
it's a whole new season with that too. It's like a totally different different team, different expectations. Did not expect this many changes in one year, but we're here, and we'll
Yeah.
we'll, we'll get into some of that a little bit later.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. That's actually the first Sunday game we'll talk about. So, all right, let's get into it. Tomorrow, there's an actual NFL game, regular season. It is the Dallas Cowboys at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay is favored by eight, -8. And the biggest news, I guess, is that Zach Martin, who's like the all-pro right guard for the Cowboys, is already announced out for the COVID reasons. So,
Yep.
we're both taking Dallas, though. I feel like 8 points is too steep personally. I think Dallas has a good enough offense to compete. I mean, I don't know where your mindset is, but that's where I'm going at least.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. And I mean, I was looking at their actual record against the spread, Dallas, and everything almost points to the Bucks. But then I looked at that 8 points, and it's a lot of points. And I know that maybe it's the year that Tom Brady starts off a little bit slow. I mean, in past years, that's usually what he tends to do. They go like 1-2 or 1-3, and everybody thinks, oh, Tom Brady's finally regressing, and then he turns it up the second half of the year. Dallas is a good team on paper if Dak Prescott can perform like he did last year at the beginning, which is going to be hard. His mobility should be limited. They don't want to rush him right back with his ankle, and his shoulder has been bothering him most of this offseason. So it's going to be interesting to see how much they really use Dak Prescott, like rushing wise. I don't think he'll see that much, but it's weird because every year I go into this and I'm like, wow, Dallas is a really good team on paper, and then they go out and they disappoint. That's usually what happens. But they got some defensive weapons in the offseason. I think they did improve their defense enough. Maybe not enough, but not as bad as last year where they can score 40 points and actually win a game. So I am going to go with Dallas. Obviously, like you mentioned, Zach Martin is out. I think Kelvin Joseph, their cornerback, is also going to be out. And like I said before, Dak Prescott's still dealing with that shoulder strain. Although they say he's okay, I'll believe it when I see it. But I'm still going to go Dallas +8.
Yeah, if it was like a +5 or something, I might go with Tampa Bay. But I feel like Dallas has more to prove here, honestly. Like Tampa Bay can just be like, hey, we're chilling, Super Bowl champions. And I feel like Dallas
Right.
with Dak Prescott back, and the Cowboys have expectations every year, but I feel like there's a lot more just to prove around that team. And, playing in prime time, the whole country's going to be watching. I feel like that might motivate them a bit. And I wouldn't be shocked if Tampa got off to a slow start here. And yeah, Dallas's defense is not that good, but they do bring in Dan Quinn, who may help that team a bit more. Hopefully, they have good linebackers. I mean, their secondary is a work in progress. I like Stephon Diggs' brother, Trayvon Diggs, but we'll see what they can do. But yeah, we're both going to go with the Dallas Cowboys here for the first game, so not going against each other. But for Sunday 1 o'clock games, this is where we go against each other. Your Philadelphia Eagles are at the Atlanta Falcons, and the Falcons are a -3.5. I'm taking Atlanta, and you're going Philadelphia.
Yeah, the main reason I went with Philadelphia here is many of you do not know I am a Philadelphia Eagles fan. I tried to go into this matchup with as little bias as possible, but I still somehow landed on the Eagles, which is usually what happens.
Sad.
I just looked at the Atlanta defense, and their rush defense was not that good last year. And the Eagles are going to be a very rush heavy team, I would assume. Their quarterback can rush. They just drafted a running back, Kenneth Gainwell. They still have Boston Scott and obviously Miles Sanders. I think they're going to be a run first team. And I think their passing is going to be improved as well. Their wide receivers got better, obviously, with the draft pick of Devontae Smith. You move Jalen Rager into the more number 2 receiver role, which is probably going to help him, if not number 3. And in the last 4 games against Philly, Atlanta has allowed 100-plus rushing yards in 3 of them, and in all of those games, they've lost all 3. So what that tells me is that if Philly can run the ball effectively, which I think they might be able to do, they might not just cover, they might outright win the game. So I'm pretty confident going with Philly plus 3.5.
Well, I'm not going to like if they win. That would piss me off, first of all. But second off, I mean, yeah, I could see Philly winning. It's not impossible. And we have 2 new head coaches here. I happen to like Arthur Smith a bit more than Nick Sirianni, but I'm willing to be proven wrong on that one. And I just feel like, both defenses aren't that good. I trust Matt Ryan over Jalen Hurts. And I feel like, it's going to be one of those high scoring, really good for fantasy football type games. And it's going to be interesting to see what Jalen Hurts does in year 2. Like, this is his first year coming in as the like actual starter. And maybe Gardner Minshew comes in halfway through the year. We'll find out. But no, I'm kidding. But like, I still think that Atlanta's going to put up a lot of points here, and stopping Kyle Pitts and still Calvin Ridley and like Hayden Hurst and guys like that. It's not going to be easy, and I just don't really trust Philly's defense. I guess you guys made some improvements. You got Steven Nelson, which is nice, and you got Anthony Harris, I believe. So it's not like you guys did nothing, but I still have to, see it to believe it, really. So I'm going to go with Atlanta, more stability with the quarterback position and Calvin Ridley and the whole chemistry there. So I'll go Atlanta, and that's our first disagreement this year. Next game, we agree here. The New York Jets are at the Carolina Panthers. Carolina's a -5. The Sam Darnold and Zach Wilson eras begin, but we're both going with Carolina here.
Yeah, I feel pretty comfortable going with Carolina here. Just looking at how the Jets play against the spread, I know their team is different than in past years. Obviously, they are a better team going into 2021, but I still think they're in that rebuild phase. I don't think they're at the point yet where they can actually make a push for the playoffs. And just a couple numbers in September alone, in their last 9 games, they're 1-8 against the spread. In their last 8 road games, they're 2-6 against the spread. And, Sam Darnold is going to be playing against them at the start of the season this year, which could light a fire under Sam Darnold's belly. Maybe he wants to get back at that franchise, right? And 5 points at home for Carolina, who's a big run threat. Their offense usually runs through Christian McCaffrey, who's going to be healthy for week 1, something they didn't have last year. I feel like they can win this game by a touchdown or more. I feel like Sam Darnold is going to be a game manager in this game, maybe a gunslinger if him and Robbie Anderson start to get comfortable. But all signs to me point to the Carolina Panthers by at least 5 points, which is where it's at. You have a couple people, Becton, who's questionable. He's been dealing with a concussion. Michael Pirine, he has a foot injury. I know Crowder is on the COVID list. I don't know if he's going to play. Obviously, you lost Lawson for the year, and just a lot of stuff going on with the Jets. New head coach, new quarterback, new system for a lot of that team to learn. I think it's going to be tough with a returning coach and Matt Rule. I feel pretty comfortable with Carolina.
Yeah, the more you talked about it, the more comfortable I feel about this. I wanted to take the Jets, but I couldn't do it. I mean, I am although I wear this Giants hat, I do like what the Jets have been doing with Joe Douglas. I think he's done a good job there. And I feel like by next year, the Jets might be pretty competitive. But right now, Carolina is in the better spot to be a better team here in 2021. And you look at the Jets secondary, I mean, who do they have? Like, their best corner is probably Bryce Hall. I know they have Marcus May at safety, but like, who else do they have? It's like there's not really many proven guys there, and they have to guard DJ Moore and Terrace Marshall and Robbie Anderson and even Christian McCaffrey. And you're like, how the hell are they going to do that for a full game? So unless the Jets offense puts up points, which they could, I do like the whole Michael LaFleur scheme and all that. Zach Wilson was very impressive in preseason. I just don't know how they're going to keep up in this game. I think the Panthers probably win this one, like, I don't know, like a 30-21 type score, somewhere around there. Like, I think they could win by a good amount here. So I'll go with Carolina. I don't think Sam Darnold's hot garbage. I think he's fine in a better system. Joe Brady, obviously, is going to be a much better play caller than Adam Gase was. And we saw what happened with Tannehill when he left. Not saying that Darnold will make that type of leap, but he has a much better environment and a much better play caller. And Sam Darnold once went 3rd overall for a reason. So he has talent. So I'll go Carolina there as well. Next game, another disagreement. The Los Angeles Chargers at the Washington football team. Los Angeles Chargers are a -1 going across the country on the road. I'm going to take Washington, and you're going with the Chargers here.
Yeah, this one was really a toss-up for me. Just looking at the numbers, nothing really swayed me in a certain direction. But I just went with the Chargers because of comfortability. I mean, they have a returning head coach, obviously. No, they don't have a returning head coach. No, they
bad.
don't. They don't. But they have a returning quarterback. Their offense is pretty much going to stay the same, I would assume. And I'd rather just go with them because I feel like that offense is more comfortable with Justin Herbert. And I feel like there might be a period of time, an adjustment period for Ryan Fitzpatrick and the Washington football team. And there's always that Fitzpatrick effect where he can, again, throw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns, or he could throw for 100 yards and 3 picks. And that's always something you got to play around with. You don't really know what's going to happen. He's probably one of the most unpredictable quarterbacks in the league, which I feel like I said a lot last year on this show. But I kind of just landed on the Chargers. I like what they have. Derwin James is coming back. I think that defense is really underrated. I think they're going to be a big threat. Obviously, the Washington defense is tremendous, but I think LA pulls it out by at least 2 points.
So you don't feel too confident is what you're saying?
No, not that confident.
The Chargers also don't have a kicker. I mean, they do, but like they also let go of Michael Badgley already. So like, maybe that's a good thing for them. But still, I think going across the country, first game with a new head coach and new offensive system and all that, I just don't know how. Even like the offensive line for the Chargers is relatively new. Rashawn Slater, and then you have Corey Linsley, who yes is a really good player, and Matt Filer, the former Steeler guard, and then you have Brian Bulaga coming back from injury as well. Like the Chargers' offensive line doesn't really have any chemistry whatsoever. And then, go against Chase Young and Deron Payne and Montez Sweat and handle them week 1. I don't know how that's going to go. So, like, it's another thing I have to see to believe with the Chargers offensive line. I think the Chargers made a ton of offensive line improvements. I think they did a good job, but they're faced with a very tall task in week 1 here against maybe the best pass rush in football, or defensive line, I should say. So that's my reasoning for it. And like, I don't know what Ron Rivera's like week 1 records are and things like that, but there is more stability with a team like that. Ron Rivera's always been an established head coach, and I feel like they'll come out more ready in this game, and they're home. So, I mean, once again, I know that you don't know the unpredictability of Ryan Fitzpatrick, but at the same time, it's like he's not going to be asked to do too much in this game. I feel like it's going to be more of a low scoring game, in my opinion. I could be wrong. I don't know what the total is, but I feel like with 2 really good defenses here, I think the Chargers defense will be good this year. And of course, Washington, I just don't see it being too high scoring, and hopefully Fitzpatrick doesn't throw them out of the game. So that's kind of what I'm banking on, which might be scary, but that's the way I'm going about it. Next, we have the San Francisco 49ers at the Detroit Lions, who could be one of the worst teams in football. San Francisco is a -7.5 on the road, and I'm pretty sure that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to start because, Trey Lance has the apparent finger injury, which I think is bullcrap. I don't think there's any injury whatsoever. I think it's just like we want to make Jimmy the starter and have no outrage type of thing. But anyway, we're both going with the 49ers here.
Yeah, I feel pretty comfortable about it. I mean, just going over that Detroit Lions roster, it's a lot of new coach, new GM, new quarterback. And honestly, the quarterback is not an improvement. You could say what you want about Jared Goff, but he is certainly no Matthew Stafford. He throws a nice deep ball. Sometimes he's accurate, but I feel like it's going to be a decline for him in Detroit for at least this season. We'll see what they do with him afterwards. But, I mean, you have a couple guys also dealing with some injuries in that offense. I know Hawkinson's been dealing with a shoulder injury. And
DeAndre Swift
has been dealing with an injury. Brockers on defense has been dealing with an injury as well. I know Deshaun Hand has also been dealing with an injury. So there's just a lot of moving pieces within that team in general. And San Fran, it's a lot of the same faces, like you said. Trey Lance has that apparent finger injury. So we are going to be seeing Jimmy Garoppolo again. And they're 8-3 against the spread in their last 11 games on turf, if you care about that. I have that written down here. It might be a helpful stat. They're 7-3 against the spread in their last 10 games in week 1. They don't really have a lot of injuries. They have a lot of the same players on their roster, didn't really move around too much. They had a lot of injuries on defense last year, a lot of guys returning. So I feel pretty comfortable about San Fran against a very questionable Detroit Lions roster.
Yeah, the way I look at it is like you look at the head coach matchup of Dan Campbell versus Kyle Shanahan, and plus the Lions roster versus the Niners roster, and I'm blindly taking the Niners by a ton of points, and it's only 7.5, which is a good amount, but like if the Niners don't win this by more than 10, they should be ashamed of themselves. I really think that. I mean, this Lions team is projected, like 5 wins or something around there. Like it's not going to be a good season for them, I feel like. And, they have some tough teams in their division. I get it with the Vikings and the Packers and even the Bears if you buy into them. But like still, that roster is not looking very good. They're clearly in rebuild mode, in my opinion. And I just trust Kyle Shanahan. I think this is going to be one of those games where the Niners will probably run the ball 30 times and rush for 250 yards and just like run them out of the building. Like I could see Raheem Mostert going off in this game. I pray to God for that one. But even like Trey Sermon gets in there and does some things. So like I definitely can see that happening. They're not going to ask Jimmy Garoppolo to throw the ball 40 times, which is probably a recipe for success. And as long as the ground game's going, I think the Niners win this game by a good amount because we know that the Niners defense, when healthy, and they should be, is very dangerous. So I just don't see the Lions having much success on either side of the ball in this game, but we'll find out. Next matchup, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills, who were in the AFC Championship game last year, they are a -6.5 in this game. I'm going with Pittsburgh. And I made a video about my concerns about Pittsburgh and all that. I definitely do have my season-long concerns about them, but I think 6.5 is a lot. But you're going to go with Buffalo here, so tell us why.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Buffalo. And again, this is not something I'm too confident with. 6.5 is a lot of points for Buffalo Bills roster that, is I would say questionable in a sense. Last year, it was the spark out of the bottle, and they came right onto the scene. They were really, really good. We'll see if that continues. It probably most likely will. My concern with Pittsburgh week one is Ben Roethlisberger. He doesn't play in the preseason. He doesn't work out in the offseason.
He played like one game maybe.
Right.
He had that
Right.
cool pump fake play and he threw the
No,
touchdown.
you're right. You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
He just to me, he doesn't not to me. In general, he doesn't really put much effort in the offseason. And sometimes it shows on the field week one. He's not necessarily ready right away. And to face a really good Bills defense week one, it's something you need to be ready for. And I don't know if he's necessarily ready for that. I could see the Bills, as good as they were last year, winning by a touchdown. Again, can't go off of much this year because nothing really happened that important. So you have to go off of last year a little bit. The Bills in their last two meetings against Pittsburgh, they were really good rushing wise, and the Bills defense is really good against the run. Pittsburgh tries to, I'm going to assume, tries to run the ball with the new addition of Najee Harris in the draft. But all signs point to the Bills. They're really good against the AFC teams against the spread. In their last 11 games overall, they're 9-2 against the spread, and I think a touchdown is a possibility for the Bills.
Fair enough. The way I look at it is I'm kind of looking at public perception, and a lot of people, as I said, myself included in a way, are just kind of down on the Steelers this year. And the entire offseason, we've seen people hyping up the Bills. So I feel like the line may be inflated here a bit, and that's why I'm pretty much going with Pittsburgh here. And I do think defensively, while I do respect the hell out of the Bills defense, I'm still going with the Steelers until I see otherwise. Like, I still think the Steelers have had a very good defense for a long time, and they still have a bunch of great names on that defense, of course. So I'm going to go with Pittsburgh. And do I fear what they're going to do offensively? Yes, but at the same time, it's not like the Bills have the most dangerous defensive line in the league. They have guys. They have Jerry Hughes at Oliver and even like Gregory Rousseau, some of the young guys, Boogie Basham, but like, I'm not going to sit here and fear for my life with that defensive line yet. Can they prove can they prove over time they're going to be legit? Yes, but not here in week one. I think Pittsburgh is going to have I think that Sean McDermott's a good coach, of course, really good coach. But like at the same time, I'm not going to go against Mike Tomlin, who's finished over 500 for like the past 20 years. Like, I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to go with the Steelers, and I think that line's just too big. So I'm going to go with the Steelers here. I think the Bills win it, but I think the Steelers lose by probably 3 or 4 in this game. Next, we have one that I very much disagree with you on. The Seattle Seahawks are at the Indianapolis Colts. Seattle's a -2.5. I think Seattle wins this one very comfortably, but you are going with the Colts.
Yeah, I am going to go with the Colts. And it might be, a shock to many of you out there. You're probably like, oh, this is the Eagles fan. He's going with the Carson Wentz and the Colts.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Carson Wentz reuniting with Frank Reich is not necessarily new. Like some of these other quarterback and coach pairings are this year, where you have a new quarterback, but he is used to the Frank Reich system. I mean, he's been essentially playing under a variation of it for the last 3 years. And to be honest, with Frank Reich as his head coach, he's been pretty good. But that's not even where I go with the Colts. The bad defensive front of the Seattle Seahawks is where I chose the Colts. They have a very good offensive line, the Colts, and they are going to own that line. I think they're going to own the time of possession, and I think their running game is going to be tremendous in this game, and I think that's going to be the difference. And I also think the defense in general, the pass defense is not that great for Seattle. You have Jamal Adams, who hasn't been practicing because of a personal issue. He's not going to be on top of things right away. And again, that offensive line for the Colts is very, very scary. I
Hey,
think they own the line.
didn't they get Sidney Jones recently? That guy can
Oh,
save them.
he's
He can
tremendous.
save
Yeah,
them.
right. He can
Oh yeah.
save them. I think, I think the front seven for the Colts is very good, and I don't like that offensive line very much for the Seattle Seahawks. They did make some improvements this year, but overall, I think most of the time Russell Wilson's still going to be running away from the pass rush, and I feel like Indy might be able to pull this out, giving them 2.5 points.
Fair. Okay. I mean, you kind of, swayed me to be more realistic about this game after talking about the whole Colts offensive line versus the front four of the Seahawks. But I will say, with the new offensive coordinator for the Seahawks, Shane Waldron, I feel like they're about to unleash all hell here in week 1 and just show like the entire world like how good this offense is going to be. And I had a bold prediction video saying that Russell Wilson is going to finally win MVP and have 5,000 yards and 45 touchdowns.
Wow.
And I think this is where it all begins. And maybe I got my head up my ass, but that's the way I'm going about it until I see something else. So I also think that some of the, preseason vibes around the Colts have not been all that positive with the whole Carson Wentz foot injury and Quentin Nelson had the same thing, I think. But they are back. But, like, is Carson Wentz at 100%? Is he ever 100%? Like, I don't fully buy into that stuff. Now, there is a world where Jonathan Taylor just goes nuclear and runs for 150 and 2 touchdowns and changes the whole game. But I just, I do respect the Colts defense, of course. They have some guys in their secondary, but, like, it's not like the best secondary in football, so I'm not going to act like Russell Wilson can't pass all over them with Metcalf and Lockett. So, I'm going with Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll, the whole stability thing once again. I got to see how Carson Wentz looks. I can't buy into it yet. I don't hate Carson Wentz like most of football fans do. I think he's a fine talent, but I got to see it first, and I don't know how healthy he is. So I'm going Seattle pretty comfortably in that game, in my opinion. Next, we have the Minnesota Vikings. They're at the Cincinnati Bengals, and Minnesota is a -3.5, which may not be a lot, but we're both going to go with the Vikings here.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Vikings. Obviously, they have that familiarity playing with them this time. They're 7-1 in their last 8 games against the spread on turf. They're 8-3 in their last games against the spread overall, which is tremendous for a Vikings team that wasn't very great last year. For them to be 8-3 in their last 11 games, it's pretty impressive. They play the spread pretty well. They do have some injury concerns. I know Barr has been dealing with, I think, a knee injury, and they lost your tight end, Irv Smith Jr., to a knee injury. But my main question is, who in that Bengals secondary is guarding Jefferson and Thielen? I think Trey Waynes – yeah, there you go. I think Trey Waynes is out with a hamstring injury, so I'm just wondering who's going to be guarding those two guys. I mean, they're really, really good wide receivers. Adam Thielen alone is a number 1 wide receiver, but when you pair him with Justin Jefferson, another number 1 wide receiver, it starts to get scary out there. Joe Burrow is coming off a nasty knee injury. I mean, it was just disgusting. That whole leg was just torn up. It was an ugly scene. You have Jamar Chase, who has some drop tendencies in preseason. Maybe he has some regular season jitters at first, although I think he will be fine the rest of the season. You never know how he starts. His confidence might be at a low right now because of his performance in preseason. So overall, I just like the Vikings more than the Bengals. I do think the Bengals will be kind of competitive this year, though.
Yeah, I'm kind of like in on the Vikings this year, not to like win the Super Bowl, but like I feel like they're gonna have a bounce back year. I mean, Mike Zimmer, you always run into that problem with a head coach where like sometimes they just kind of wear out their voice after a while. And I think Zimmer's a good coach, but like he's been there for a while. They've kind of reached the ceiling of the NFC Championship game where my Eagles beat them by so many points and Nick Foles, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, yes, I mean, there's a time where every coach will hit that wall. And I think maybe we see that for Zimmer, but they did everything in their power to kind of just eliminate that from happening. They improved their defense a lot. I mean, Patrick Peterson, I feel like, may have another good year left in him. They get Dalvin Tomlinson from the Giants. They signed a couple other guys as well. They get Michael Pierce back. I think he missed the entire season with the COVID absence. So, like, they get some guys back, Daniil Hunter as well. So this team, I mean, the Bengals have their flaws. Their defense is in a rough spot right now because, as you said, Trey Waynes is out. He's listed as out right now, so I do think he's out for this game. And if you're going to tell me that Chidobe Awuzie and Eli Apple have to guard Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson. Why wouldn't I
Right.
take it? It's only 3.5. So I'm like, I'd be dumb not to take it. But there is also a world where the Bengals come out on all cylinders and like have a great offensive game. Of course, they have 3 really good receivers, a good running back. Their offensive line upgraded a bit here, and Joe Burrow, he's a very talented player. Is he 100%? We'll find out. But I like the Vikings a lot more as a team, and they have a lot more stability. And Zach Taylor's one of those guys who may be on the hot seat, one of the first coaches on the hot seat if things don't go their way there for the Bengals. So next game, we have Trevor Lawrence making his actual NFL debut. Jacksonville Jaguars at the Houston Texans. Jacksonville's a -3, and we're both going to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars there.
Yeah, I feel like this one might be the shortest explanation of them all. I feel pretty comfortable going with Jacksonville. I know I've been going around the familiarity teams, the teams that have their same coach, same quarterback. Even though Jacksonville has a new coach, a new quarterback, and a kind of new GM. I know he was the interim like around November last year, so he's kind of new. But at the end of the day, it's the Houston Texans. They have problems all over. Their best player, Deshaun Watson, is not going to be on the field. It's going to be Tyrod Taylor. So, yeah, ETN, the guy you drafted in the first round, who they were probably hoping they would get a lot of production with, pairing him back with Trevor Lawrence again. He's out for the season with a foot injury. I know Marvin Jones and DJ Chark have been dealing with some injuries, but I think they're going to be good to go for week 1. And the really only advantage I see for the Texans is they have home field advantage, if you even want to consider that. And I guess Tyrod Taylor's lung is not punctured at week 1, so
Wow.
he'll be on the field. But that's pretty much all you got from the Texans side.
Yeah, the Texans are a team that they might be one of the worst teams of all time. Now, having the extra game will help them not go winless this year, but like, I guess if they're going to steal the game, it could be this one. Like, remember last year we saw Jacksonville, funny enough, how they took the game from the Colts week 1. I
Yep.
guess that could happen here, especially if Trevor Lawrence is like facing too much pressure and just doesn't live up to it in week 1. I guess there's a world where that happens, but I just think Jacksonville is so much more talent. And that's like that's saying a lot because Jacksonville is not even that talented of a team. They have young guys who I like, but like right now, it's just a lot of projecting. And you look at the
Yeah.
Texans roster. I mean, my goodness. I mean, Tunsil's still there, of course, but like even like the running backs are a bunch of guys over the hill. I like Brandon Cooks, but is Tyrod Taylor giving Brandon Cooks a great season? I don't know. And I mean, once again, the offensive line has some pieces. Zach Cunningham is still there. Christian Kirk, he's fine. But like, man, this team is it's bad. Like, I just don't know how they're going to hang around. And Jacksonville has a good enough offense, in my opinion. You talked about Travis Etienne being out, which definitely is valid. But even James Robinson had a great year last year, and
Yeah.
they're probably going to have DJ Chark and Marvin Jones and Laviska Shenault. So like, Trevor Lawrence, it's like I don't know how they stopped him and basically have it be less than 3 points. So I'm going to go Jacksonville, and I think they win this one by, at least a touchdown, in my opinion. But I'm kind of interested to see why it's only at 3. I feel like they know something we don't, but I guess we'll find out on Sunday. But next we have this should be a good game. The Arizona Cardinals at the Tennessee Titans, and Tennessee's a -3. And I really wanted to take the Cardinals. I always try to back the Cardinals. I love Kyler Murray, but I'm going to go with the Titans as well, and so are you.
Yeah, just looking at against the spread, I know Arizona kind of flattened out a little bit last year at the end. They were really good to start. They look like a really, really good team, but against the spread in their last 9 games, they were 2-7. And that's not good. That's not what you want from this offense and from this team in general. I know you added AJ Green, if you're excited about that, and James Conner. But again, I wouldn't be overly excited about James Conner. It's not like they were jumping on James Conner right away in free agency. Took a little bit of time for that guy to get signed, but he finally did. He landed with the Cardinals. They have a top 10 passing defense last year, or they had a top 10 passing defense, which was pretty impressive. But we all know that workhorse on that Tennessee side of the field is probably going to barrel through most of this defensive line. Unfortunately, Arizona had a middle-of-the-pack rushing defense last year, which does not play well against the Tennessee Titans. If they can establish the run, they are going to establish the run all day long. And if they can't, they could still go to the pass, who, by the way, was amazing last year, who they added Julio Jones to. This offense is tremendous. It's only 3 points. Arizona is a question mark. You don't know if Kyler Murray is going to be great right away. I know he was great last year. He's definitely going to give that defense some problems because that Titans defense is still a big question mark. But Tennessee's offense is just way too good. If Ryan Tannehill can be 80% of what he was last year, which is I assume he will be with the addition of Julio Jones, I think Tennessee clears this game pretty nicely.
Okay. I can make an argument for both sides, but I kind of look at this game the same way I do with the Vikings game. You're gonna have Julio Jones and AJ Brown. I mean, AJ Brown kind of has an injury going on, but I think he should be fine for Sunday. You're gonna have them against like not Sean Murphy Bunting. What the hell's the guy's name? Byron Murphy. I always get those guys
Yeah.
confused. Byron Murphy, Robert Alford, and Marco Wilson, the rookie out of Florida, who was a late round pick. Like you're telling me that future Hall of Famer Julio Jones and an AJ Brown, who's on that trajectory right now, they can't eat up this secondary. I know Buda Baker's there, but he's not gonna guard them one-on-one. So I have a lot of concerns about that. And Brian Tannehill has shown me enough over the past year and a half that he's legit. Losing their play caller, Arthur Smith, who of course went to the Falcons to be their head coach, that kind of concerns me. But don't forget, like they went from Matt LaFleur and they transitioned fine to Arthur Smith. So why can't they do it again? I'm not going to bet against the Titans here until they show me otherwise. And I think the guy they hired, their OC, was there last year, so it's not going to be like a completely different thing here. And Derrick Henry versus this Cardinals rush defense, as you said. I'm fine with that matchup. I mean, they did draft, what's the guy's name? Zaven Collins, who was the next Brian Urlacher, apparently. But until I see that, I'm not going to be sold as well. So I'll go Tennessee. I think Tennessee probably wins this game. I don't know by how much, but, I could see either team winning it. But I just think Tennessee's the home team. They're facing cornerbacks that can expose with their great receivers, so I'll go with them there.
They also have J.J. Watt going off the edge.
That is true. Yeah. I mean, I still think Watt's a good player, but I mean, we'll see once again with that one. Miami Dolphins, and you're a big Tua Tagovailoa lover for those who don't know. The Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins are at the New England Patriots, and the Patriots are a -3. I'm taking New England. I absolutely love them in this game, but tell us why you're taking the Dolphins.
This is a game that is up in the air, and I don't know if you can necessarily take this with as much confidence as you're about to express after I'm done speaking, because Mac Jones is on the field. And I'm not saying Mac Jones is a bad quarterback. I'm not ripping him at all. I think Mac Jones
next Tom Brady, bro. What are you talking
I think he's
about?
going to work perfectly in this New England system. But that's about it. You don't know what Mac Jones is going to be. And week one against rookie quarterbacks, that's some risky territory. I'd rather go with the Dolphins, who made some big upgrades for Tua this year. They got him a new OC, which was the problem last year. You can just tell the offensive coordinator was not building or making his plays and playbook around Tua's strengths. They drafted guys around Tua's strengths. They signed guys around Tua's strengths. Will Fuller, Jalen Waddle, who I think is by far – I shouldn't say by far. I think he's the best wide receiver in the draft. I think it's going to come out fast that way this year, that he's going to be very, very good. They got Jalen Phillips on the defensive side, which I thought was the most underrated defender in the draft. I think he's a tremendous player. And honestly, the Dolphins' defense is really, really good. And I think it's going to be hard for Mac Jones to adjust to the NFL game speed right away with this defense harping at him. They have Byron Jones. They have Xavier Howard. They have really, really good corners. And on the offensive side for the Patriots, they don't have any spectacular wide receivers, unless you consider Eagle legend Nelson Aguilar as a spectacular receiver. Maybe they go to Jacoby Myers. They did add Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith, who I think is going to form more into a receiver at some point this year, a wide receiver.
Listen, I'm telling you right now, Jonnu Smith is scoring 2 touchdowns this game. I'm telling you right
in
now.
this specific game?
Yes.
I think that could be fair.
Write it down.
I think what New England does have going for them, though, is they have a lot of returning players last year that were out because of COVID. Like, they just didn't want to play because of COVID. And they have a lot of returning players on defense that I think could impact this game. I think them going 7-9 last year with all those players off the field and Cam Newton as their quarterback is very encouraging. I think they are going to burst onto the scene eventually, but I think Miami has a chance to outright win this game.
Yeah, I think when I did my record predictions, I'm pretty sure I had the Dolphins and Patriots tied at 9-8 or 10-7, whatever it was. I forget, but I had them tied, is what I'm saying. So I'm not saying that the Dolphins are a bad team and the Patriots are great, but in this matchup specifically, Week 1, home, for New England, I just love that, and I think until I know you like Tua. And Tua has looked better and more healthy in the preseason, I will say that. But until I see it, especially against a Patriots defense, and this will be a good Week 1 task for him. I'm excited for Tua to see what he can do in this game. Until I see him actually go in there and put up a respectable 20-plus points, like 24 or so, against the Patriots defense that's having a lot of guys return, and they signed Judon and bringing some other guys back, Dante Hightower. I'm not going to fully buy into the whole Dolphins offense resurgence here. And I know they got some weapons now, and Will Fuller's not going to be there. We have to mention that one as well. The one-game suspension definitely comes into play here. Will Fuller's going to be out. And then, you have Jalen Waddle in his first NFL game. How much can you really expect there? So, Bill Belichick, look, Brian Flores is a really good coach, definitely going to have a good future in this league, in my opinion. I can't go against Belichick here in this situation. And to flat out cut Cam Newton, you have to be very confident in Mac Jones. Now, could it have to have done with Cam's vaccination status? Sure. But like to just flat out cut the guy over that, you have to have at least some pretty good level of confidence or high level of confidence that Mac Jones is NFL ready. And I think he is now facing Byron Jones and Xavier Howard, as you said. It's going to be tough, but that's not the Patriots' strengths. The strength is running the ball and throwing to the tight ends. And I think they will be able to do that. And as I said, Johnny Smith, big game coming up here, hopefully. So I want to go with the Patriots, but that will be a fun game to keep my eye on Sunday. So next we have my team. Well, not the Denver Broncos. That's, not my team. But the Denver Broncos are at the New York Giants. And Denver, of course, is a favorite on the road. They are -3. You said this was your toughest game to pick.
Yeah.
I've had my thoughts about this game. I'm going with Denver, and you're actually going to go with the Giants here.
Yeah, and as I was looking over my notes, I became less and less confident in my pick. But you know what? They're getting 3 points. All right, so they're not favorites in this game, which is where I like them at home. I think maybe Daniel Jones is tired of the New York media and wants to go out there and prove everybody like Mike Rapino wrong. He wants to burst onto the scene. He wants to do awesome things. But there are a lot of question marks with this team, and especially for week 1. You have Barkley coming off a knee injury. He's probably going to play, but at what capacity, we don't really know. You have Golladay, who was injured a lot last year. He's also dealing with another injury. He's probably going to play. But again, to what capacity? I don't know. Kadarius Toney, their new draft pick, was also dealing with a couple injuries. He's probable. Darius Slayton, another offensive weapon for them, is questionable, dealing with injuries. So there's a lot of injuries around the field. I know Kyle Rudolph is dealing with injuries. Evan Engram is going to be completely out of this game already. They already ruled him.
Did they already?
I think they did.
I expected it anyway. So
there was maybe there was a Schefter tweet that led me in that direction.
Fake Schefter, yeah.
Yeah, fake Schefter. On the Broncos side, if you guys watched this series last year, I really like Teddy Bridgewater. I think he's one of the safest quarterbacks in the league. I think he's one of the best game managers in the league. Doesn't turn the ball over that much. Will do what you need him to do. But you know what? Maybe Teddy Bridgewater doesn't burst on the scene right here. Maybe he's too safe of a quarterback. Maybe the Giants just go out and ball out this game. I'm confident in the Giants to an extent. I think their defense is still really good. I think that's going to pose a threat for Teddy Bridgewater, who's got to get comfortable a little bit with the Broncos. I know he's with Pat Shurmur, ex-Giant legend, but we'll see.
Ex-Eagle legend? Kind of.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah,
in a way.
All right, you could say that.
Yeah, in a way.
I was trying to insult you, but I can't.
I'll go with the Giants +3. Getting points at home, it's always a good thing for them.
Yeah. I hope you're right, obviously. There's so many concerns about this freaking team. The offensive line against
I didn't even
the
mention
Broncos
that.
front seven is it's the biggest concern for me in this game, honestly, against Von Miller, Bradley Chubb, Shelby Harris, and they have a great pass rush there. I can't mitigate that. And neither can the Giants offensive line probably. So, you also have Daniel Jones, who, is he that much better than Teddy Bridgewater from what we've seen so far? You can't sit here.
If he is at all.
Yeah. I think DJ's a bit better, but it's not like it's a huge gap. And it's I think the Broncos roster is slightly better than the Giants, and they've had more of a there's more stability in preseason and stuff. Like the Giants, as you mentioned, have so many injuries. Kenny Golladay didn't play in the preseason. Neither did Kadarius Toney or Kyle Rudolph, even Saquon Barkley. So many of these guys are seeing the field for the first time in week 1, and it's just throw them in the game action and see what happens. So I think the Giants offense will probably start slow, and the Giants offensive line may get eaten alive, and that's my concerns. But I guess on the positive side of it, I mean, I guess there's a way the Giants could win this game. You have to win the turnover battle, and Daniel Jones just has to use his legs, and Saquon Barkley hopefully can break a big play or two. And they talked about today, Joe Judge, how Kadarius Toney may be a big part of his game. So we'll see how that one goes. But I have yet to see Kadarius Toney play for the Giants, so I don't know how that's going to work. So we'll find out. But I definitely am like skeptical about this game. But as a Giants fan, I'm done starting 0-1. So if they can figure it out, that'd be fantastic. Next, we have the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers is still there if you're keeping up. They're at the New Orleans Saints, and the game's not in New Orleans, I believe. I forget where they're playing at. Do you know where they're playing or no? Because I don't know.
Jacksonville, right?
Is it? Yeah, actually, I think it is.
Yeah.
You're right. Okay. Well, is Jacksonville home? Jacksonville is on the road, so
No,
you might be right
on the
there.
road.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, so let's say they're at Jacksonville, but it's the Saints with the home game here. But Green Bay on the road is a -4.5, and we're both going to take the Packers.
Yeah, this is just I really can't say much about the New Orleans Saints. They lost their quarterback that they've had for God knows how long. And the Green Bay Packers somehow were the Green Bay Packers were somehow able to keep their quarterback despite him wanting to become the Jeopardy host. But I mean, just Green Bay is 7-1 against the spread in their last 8 games in September, and it's not like anybody else has been there other than Aaron Rodgers. He's played every one of those games in September. And as the favorite in this matchup, the favorite is 6-2 against the spread, and the favorite is Green Bay. So I feel pretty comfortable overall. I know Sternberger is not going to be playing. He's suspended. I think Bakhtiari is going to be out with a knee injury, which does not help them on the offensive line. But they are a really, really good passing offense, and they just got Aaron Jones back. They re-signed him, and they're a really, really good rush threat as well. New Orleans Saints, who knows how Jameson Winston's going to be. They don't have Michael Thomas. They don't have Adam Troutman. They lost Will Lutz to an injury, and Marshawn Lattimore is questionable. So there's you might say Will Lutz. Well, he's a great kicker, and that might come into play in a 4.5 spread. You need your good kicker. I just think Green Bay is pretty much the same team as they were last year, and they were really, really good last year. So I'm going to go with Green Bay.
Yeah, I would pretty much use the same arguments that you had. The only argument I can make for the Saints is that they win this game on defense because the Packers, as you said, don't have Bakhtiari. They don't have Corey Linsley, who signed with the Chargers, their center. And, the Saints still have Davenport. They still have Cam Jordan. Like, they can probably get to Aaron Rodgers. So unless, their pass rush and defense completely changes the game, I don't really see how the Saints, I don't want to say survive in this game, but I don't see how they win it. You know what I mean? It's a pretty close spread. Right. It's pretty much a neutral site. So there will be a lot of Saints fans there. I'm not saying that, but playing in New Orleans is a lot tougher than playing in Jacksonville, of course, in that dome. So I'm going to go with the Packers. There is more stability as well. And as you mentioned, the whole 7-1 against the spread during the Matt LaFleur era, that's definitely good to see as well. So I'm going to go with the Packers. I mean, I could make an argument for the Saints defense, but I got to see how Jameis Winston does. I'm a Jameis believer. I've said that many times, but this might not be the right matchup for him. So I'll go with the Packers here for week 1. Next, we have a great game here. These teams played in the playoffs last year. The Cleveland Browns at the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are a -6.5, but me and you are both going with the Browns.
Yeah, I'm going with the Browns because I think they're going to pop off on the scene. I think they are a legit Super Bowl contender, and they have one of the best rosters on paper in the league. If Baker Mayfield can be even just below a great quarterback this year, they're going to do some big, big things. And some concerning stats I read is they're 4-12 against the spread in their last 16 games against the AFC, which obviously in a great team like Kansas City, that's not great. But as the underdog, they're 6-2 against the spread in their last 8 meetings. So it's not terrible. Kansas City has been pretty relevant for most of those, and obviously Cleveland has not been. So maybe there were some big spreads in those games. Mm-hmm. But Cleveland has a very good roster. Like I just mentioned, they have a great rush attack. I think Myles Garrett might win Defensive Player of the Year if he can somehow get around Aaron Donald, who's been on that list a lot since he started his career. Tyrann Mathieu, I think, is on the COVID list. I don't know if he's going to play or not. That's big for their defense because the Chiefs' defense, their secondary at least, they don't have great depth at all. They have DeAndre Baker. Is he still there? He's tremendous cornerback. DeAndre
they have
Baker.
L'Jarius Sneed. He's pretty good, the rookie. But that's about it. Yeah.
I know Frank Clark is dealing with an injury. Both their running backs are dealing with injuries, but they're going to play. and Tyreek Hill's also dealing with an injury. And Kansas City, in their last 11 games overall, are 2-9 against the spread, and this is a pretty big spread. I mean, a touchdown with a great team like the Cleveland Browns, it's a pretty good spread. So I feel comfortable going with Cleveland.
That's the thing. I feel like the Chiefs kind of get overhyped and sometimes don't live up to the spread. What was the spread last year? You were talking about like big spreads. What was the Jets and Chiefs spread last year? Was it 17 and a half? Like
Yeah, that was big.
it was a
Yeah,
crazy number. I'm
I
trying to
think
think
I
what it
went with the
was.
Jets.
Probably you picked the Jets too many times last year.
I
I
think I went with the
roasted you
Jets
for it,
last year.
and that's probably why I won, honestly, because of your Jets loyalty. To be honest with you, but yeah, I'm a big believer in this Browns roster. Love Baker Mayfield, love the offensive line. Get Odell Beckham back, which will only help. I don't buy into the narrative that Baker's better without Odell. And Browns defense, I mean, they got better too. I mean, Jadeveon
Yep.
Clowney,
Yep.
overhyped, yes, but I still think he's a solid player, like an above-average player in this league. Signing John Johnson, Troy Hill from the Rams to get in their secondary, big upgrades, especially against a passing team like this. And, the Chiefs, they got a new offensive line, but I want to see how they do first. For now, it's just names on paper. We got to see how they play first, and I think that stopping Myles Garrett, it's going to be tough for an entire 60-minute game. So this will be fun. I want to watch this entire game, honestly. I think the Giants play at the same time, so I guess I'll probably watch it on Monday or something, but I'll find a way to watch this full game at some point. But this will be a good one, and I think this has a chance of being a future AFC Championship matchup, to be honest.
Yeah.
So next we have the Chicago Bears, which feels like more of a sacrificial lamb type of game. They're at the Los Angeles Rams, and I feel bad for Andy Dalton already because they're kind of just starting him off like a big FU moment. But the Rams are a -7.5, and we're both going to go with the Rams here.
Yeah, if Justin Fields was on the field, maybe I would go with the Bears. But again, I do not blame them for not playing Justin Fields. You do not want Justin Fields to start his NFL career going up against Aaron Donald and that LA Rams defense. I mean, that's a scary defense to start your career up against. And in their last 17 games at home, LA is 14-3 against the spread. That's pretty big stuff. And I know they have a new quarterback, but it's an upgrade. I mean, it's an upgrade, tremendous upgrade, because you're going to be able to use your slot guys more. Your tight ends are going to be used more. It's going to be a very, very deep offense. And I know they don't have Cam Akers. They lost him for the year. And Xavier Jones is also out for the year, if I'm not mistaken. So their run game is a little questionable. But they did get Sony Michel. And I don't know how effective he'll be, but they did get him. So there is a proven, in a way, running back. But the Chicago Bears, Andy Dalton it's not going to be great right off the bat. I think you're going to see Justin Fields maybe even next week if the Rams punish the Chicago Bears enough. But in their last 22 games as underdogs, Chicago is 15-7 against the spread. And with a high spread like this, that might be kind of dangerous territory for us. But in their last 8 meetings, they're 2-6 against the spread. Eddie Goldman, I know, is dealing with an injury. Tariq Cohen, Tevin Jenkins, Danny Trevathan. I think they all might be out for this game. And they lost Kyle Fuller in the offseason. That secondary is not too great anymore. That front seven's still pretty good. But LA is going to be a dangerous offense, and they already are a dangerous defense. So I'm going to go with LA.
Yeah, it comes down to the Bears' offensive line and having a quarterback with not much mobility. I think they lost Charles Leno, Bobby Massey. You mentioned Tevin Jenkins, who I believe had back surgery. He was the guy they traded up for in the second round and was supposed to be their right tackle, I believe. He's out. So who's blocking the Rams? Like, I just don't see how. I feel like every Rams defender is going to have a great game in this one, whether it's Aaron Donald or Leonard Floyd. Like, they're probably going to get multiple sacks in this game. So, if it was Justin Fields, I'd feel better about his ability to escape the pocket. But once pressure comes on Andy Dalton, it's like, what's going to happen? Like, it might get ugly here. So if the Bears stick around, then kudos to them. I was thinking of picking the Bears because I feel like everyone's going to pick the Rams, and I feel like it's kind of like a fishy game, and I just feel like I should take the Bears for the hell of it. But I can't do it. I can't talk myself into picking Chicago here, especially with Andy Dalton as their quarterback. And, of course, I love Matthew Stafford. It's a great upgrade, I think, kind of like my what I said about the Seahawks and kind of unleashing their offense here in week 1. You can see the same thing here with the Rams. So I'm definitely excited to see what they can do. And
he's also he's also very familiar against the Bears. He's just coming from that
Yeah,
division.
that's actually a very good point. Yeah, so I mean, he has experience there. So yeah, this will be a possibly a blowout of a game, but I do like the Rams here for sure. I wish it was 6.5, but I still will take the Rams at 7.5. Lastly, we have the Baltimore Ravens. They're at the Las Vegas Raiders, and Baltimore is a -4.5. And me and you are both going to take Baltimore very comfortably. It sounds like.
Yeah, but there were some injury concerns with this team. Obviously, they don't have J.K. Dobbins, they don't have Justice Hill, they don't have L.J. Fort, Rashad Bateman dealing with that injury, Miles Boykin dealing with an injury, Jawan James dealing with an injury. They did sign Sammy Watkins, Le'Veon Bell, if you consider that as good signing. Sammy Watkins is an elite signing for Week 1.
Oh yeah.
They're 11-4 against the spread in their last 15 games against the AFC. And just on the Raiders side, there are too many question marks. There really are. Their offensive line, their starting offensive line, didn't see one snap in the preseason. Not one. I mean, that's a position you need to get reps in before you can start absolutely dominating. And that's just not something they've been able to do. Not to mention, they lost a lot of good pieces on the offensive line as well. So a lot of new faces on that offensive line, not necessarily an upgrade. Josh Jacobs is questionable. He's dealing with an injury. I think before we started, or maybe during the recording, you said you hope he's out for your fantasy team.
Yeah.
I know Jalen Richard is out. Just a lot of question marks on this Raiders. And I think their offense is going to be decent. It's just that defense didn't see any upgrade. That offensive line got worse, and it was a decent offensive line last year. And Baltimore is just awesome rushing-wise, and I think they're going to be an improved passing team as well. I just think it's going to be Baltimore, and I think it might be Baltimore by a lot.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too, honestly. I know that Baltimore has a lot of injuries offensively, but they pretty much have their defense intact right now. You talked about Fort, the linebacker, being out. Doesn't bother me, honestly. I'm still going with the Ravens by a lot here. I mean, as long as you have Lamar Jackson and offensive line that should keep them upright, I just don't see a reason why the Ravens don't win this game by at least a touchdown. And I think it could get a lot worse than that as well. Derek Carr against a good secondary. I don't know how that one will go. And does Brian Edwards or Henry Ruggs step up this year? We'll find out. How many targets can Darren Waller feasibly get? Like 15 at most. Like, I feel like they're going to eventually figure that out. So I don't know how the Raiders offense survives in this one. And I'm not really a believer in this Raiders roster. I think they went 8-8 last year, 7-9 at least. Like, they had a decent season record wise, but I could see them declining because I just don't really buy into what the Raiders are doing right now. So I know that the Ravens have all the injuries, but until Lamar Jackson, as long as he's there, I'm not going to pick against them in a matchup like this. So I'm going to take them. And once again, feels kind of fishy that's only 4.5, but we'll find out what happens there. Sometimes you should not overthink it, but we'll both go with the Ravens there to end things off. So that will do it. We picked, I guess, 16 games here because that's, 16 times 2, 32. A lot of games there, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Andrew, anything to say before we sign off here?
Nah, just happy to be back. Happy it's this time of year again. It's always just such a fun year. And I hope it's a good one. I hope, we get a lot of picks right. I hope we get some picks wrong. I hope we make some bold takes. Oh, we did not do favorite picks.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot to pick mine. So do you want to say yours real quick?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Carolina -5. I really like that Carolina team. I like Matt Rule. I think he's going to be able to open the playbook even more with a quarterback like Sam Darnold who can sling it down the field. I like their offense. Christian McCaffrey coming back. Obviously, they're probably going to build it around him, which is awesome because they're really good when Christian McCaffrey's on the field. You have that Robbie Anderson connection, like I said before, and the Jets, just a lot of new head coach, new quarterback in Zach Wilson, who I think will be very good for the Jets down the road. But in the first game of the season, really don't know. And it's definitely tough to bet against a rookie quarterback because he could just pop on the scene just like that, or he could be really, really stinky. You never know. A lot of question marks on defense, a lot of players injured. I think Carolina is a very safe bet.
Number 2. We're picking 2, aren't we?
Oh, well, all right. Well, yeah. We'll do 2. I'm going to go Jacksonville -3.
Okay.
Not really much on Jacksonville, more what I have on the Texans. They're not very good. And like you said, they might go down as one of the worst teams in NFL history. They lost again to Deshaun Watson. He will not be playing. They have Tyrod Taylor, and that's not an upgrade at all. Tyrod Taylor is the definition of an NFL backup quarterback. He's basically been that his entire career. I get it, new coach, new GM, new quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars, but it's one of the best quarterback talents in the last 10 years to come out of the draft, Trevor Lawrence. Kind of looked slow, I would say, in the first two preseason games, but kind of adapted to that NFL game speed a little bit better in preseason week 3. So I'm going to go with Jacksonville covering -3.
I hope a Bills fan comes after you for what you just said about Tyrod. Do you know
Yeah,
that man brought them to the playoffs?
I got it, but
Even with the
what
hell's
was
his
the
name?
record that year?
Nathan Peterman coming in. I think they were nine
What
and
was that
seven.
record
Nine
last
and
year?
seven.
It was like, was it 9-7? Are you sure?
That year, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 2017. I think.
It's not terribly above average. I mean, it's
Eh,
average, and that's basically what
I'll
Tyrod
sign
Taylor's
up for
been.
it as a Giants fan right now. Give me 9-8. But yeah, all right. So for mine too, I raved about Seattle. I'm going with them -2.5, and I'm gonna
Wow.
go with
All right.
Baltimore -4.5. So
All right.
those are my picks. So we'll see who gets the most right. But yeah, we'll have a score next week. That'll be fun. But yeah, Sunday's like Christmas morning because I'm too old for Christmas now, and now I have football, so it's gonna be fun. Week one's always great. But hopefully you guys enjoy football. This video will come back at you next week, probably on like Wednesday or so. We got to decide a date, but we'll probably
Yeah.
come around Tuesday or Wednesday. But thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you guys next time.